The bread was stale. I remember because I bought it fresh that morning before I left. Wrapped it in a paper bag, set it on the kitchen counter next to the fruit bowl, and told myself the children would be fine. I remember because I checked the timestamp on the footage. 7:14 p.m. on a Wednesday. My son Theo was 6 years old. He was standing on a stool at the kitchen counter, tearing bread with his small hands, passing pieces to his sister Imaid, who was 4. There was no soup, no rice, no stew, nothing warm, just bread and a cup of water. And in the sitting room, not 5 meters away, was the woman I was about to marry, watching Netflix. My name is Harry. I am a widower. I lost my wife, Busy, to cancer 3 years before this moment. And for 3 years, I told myself the right woman would come. The kind of woman who would not just love me, but love what I had left of her. My children. I thought I had found her. I was wrong. And the way I found out, I still cannot decide if God was protecting me or punishing me. Stay with me, because this story is not just about betrayal. It is about what happens when a stranger's love for someone else's children is stronger than a fiancé's. Let me tell you about Emily. I met her at a friend's birthday dinner. She was 20. Second year, University of Abuja, Mass Communication. I was 38. My friends said I was too old. My sister said I was moving too fast. My mother, Mrs. Lade. She said nothing at first. She just watched. That should have told me something. Emily was the kind of beautiful that makes you forget your own name. Not just her face. Her energy. She laughed loud. She talked with her hands. She had opinions about everything. And she was not afraid to say them. After 3 years of grief, of quiet dinners and empty sides of the bed, this woman felt like sunlight. I started paying her school fees by the second month. Not because she asked. Because I offered. That is important. I offered. I told myself I was investing in her future. What I was really doing was making myself feel needed again. I remember one Saturday afternoon. She was studying for exams. And I drove to the hostel to bring her food. Jollof rice, fried plantain, a bottle of cold chivita. She opened the door in a black vest and shorts. Her locks half done. Textbooks spread across the floor. And she threw her arms around my neck. Like I had brought her the whole world. That was the version of Emily I fell in love with. I paid her fees for 2 years. All 4 semesters. When she graduated, I set her up with a hair and beauty studio in Woos. Paid the shop deposit. Bought the equipment. Even sent clients her way through my network. She did not have to beg for a job. She did not have to hustle on the street. I handed her a business. Then I bought her a car. A used Toyota Corolla. But it was clean. It was hers. She cried when I gave her the keys. I thought those were tears of gratitude. My children, Theo and Imaid. They met her maybe 4 times before the engagement. The meetings were always brief. Always at a restaurant or a park. She was polite. She bought them ice cream. She took photos with them for her Instagram. I thought, this is a woman who is warming up. Give her time. My mother, Mrs. Lade. She came to visit once when Emily was at the house. Afterward, she called me into the kitchen and said, and I remember this exactly. She said, Harry, I am not saying she is a bad person. I am saying she looks at those children the way someone looks at a pothole on the road. Like they are an obstacle. I told my mother she was being unfair. That Emily just needed time to adjust. My mother said, "Children know things, Harry. Ask Theo what he thinks of her." I never asked Theo. Looking back, I should have. But I was too busy planning the wedding. Too busy being hopeful. The first sign came 3 weeks after the engagement. We were at the house. Me, Emily, the children, and their nanny, Mama Chisholm. Theo had drawn a picture at school. A family portrait. Me, him, a maid. And a woman in the picture. A tall woman with a big smile. He ran to Emily and said, "Auntie Emily, I drew you." Emily looked at the drawing. She smiled. But it was a smile that never reached her eyes. She said, "That's nice, Theo," and handed it back to him. She did not put it on the fridge. She did not even hold on to it for a second longer than she had to. Theo looked at me. I looked away. I told myself, she is not a mother yet. She does not know how these things work. I was wrong. The second sign. We were in the car. Coming back from visiting her family. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, almost to herself, "I didn't grow up around children. I don't really know how to be around them." I said, "You learn. They are good kids." She did not respond. She just looked out the window. I told myself it was pre-wedding nerves. I was wrong. The third sign came from her sister, Sally. Now, Sally and I had met a handful of times at family gatherings. Quiet girl. Observant. She always looked at Emily with this expression I couldn't quite read. Something between admiration and concern. One evening, I overheard her on the phone with Emily in the next room. I only caught fragments. "You sure about this? But what about the children, Emily? That is not what you said before." When Emily came back into the room, I asked, "Everything okay with Sally?" She said, "She's just being dramatic. You know how younger sisters are." I laughed. I dropped it. I was wrong. The fourth sign was the smallest. And somehow the one that stayed with me the longest. Little Imaid. She was 4, remember? She fell and scraped her knee in the compound. Crying. Arms out. The way children do. She reached for Emily, who was sitting closest to her. Emily stood up and stepped back. Not away from the 4. Not to go and get a first aid kit. She just stepped back. Put distance between herself and the crying child. Mama Chisholm picked Imaid up in seconds. I stood there watching Emily scroll through her phone. I told myself, she is nervous. She doesn't want to overstep. She is waiting to be their stepmother before she acts like one. But that night, I lay awake in the dark. And I thought about what my mother said. I thought about Theo's drawing. Left on the cushion, not the fridge. I thought about Imaid's arms reaching out. And finding nothing. And I pushed the thoughts away. Because I did not want to start over. Because grief makes you desperate for warmth. And I mistook her beauty for kindness. It was Sally who cracked it open. She came to me alone. No Emily. Just Sally. Sitting across from me at a small booker near my office. A bottle of cold Le Casseray in front of her that she hadn't touched. turning it slowly in her hands. Like she was trying to find the right words. She said, "Harry, I need to tell you something. But I am afraid of what it will do to my sister and I." I said, "Tell me." She said, "And I want you to really hear this." She said, "We grew up in a house where my mother struggled with my father's children from his first wife. Emily watched that. And she swore. She said it so many times growing up. She said she would never marry a man with children. Never." I sat with that. I said, "Sally, people change." She agreed to this marriage. Sally looked at me. She said, "After you got engaged," I asked her. I said, "Emily, you always said you wouldn't marry a man with children. What changed?" She said, "He's a good man. When we marry, I will convince him to send the children to boarding school. Or to stay with relatives. I cannot be babysitting them. In the name of stepmother. Boarding school. Relatives. My children. 6 and 4 years old." I wanted to call her right there. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to cancel everything. My hands were shaking. I was already reaching for my phone. And then I stopped. Because I thought, if I confront her now, she will deny it. She will cry. She will say Sally is jealous. She will say Sally misunderstood. And I will look at her face. And I will want to believe her. Because that is what I had been doing for months. Wanting to believe her. So I thanked Sally. I paid for the drinks. And I drove home. And I made a plan. Not an emotional plan. A cold one. I called Emily on a Friday evening. I told her something came up at work. A site emergency in Port Harcourt. I had to travel for 3 days. I said. And I chose my words carefully. I said, "Emily, since we are getting married, the children need to know you. Come stay at the house while I'm away. Bond with them. I need to know they are safe with you." She agreed. She sounded enthusiastic. I remember thinking, maybe I am wrong about her. Maybe Sally exaggerated. I was not wrong. Before I left, I told Mama Chisholm to cook. Properly. Variety. Egusi soup, stew, fried rice, beans. Enough for 3 days. Portioned into containers and stored in the freezer. All Emily had to do was warm the food and feed the children. That was all. I told Mama Chisholm to take 3 days off. I told her I needed Emily to step into the role. Then I went to a hotel in town. Not Port Harcourt. In town. And I opened my laptop. Because 48 hours before I left, I had installed CCTV cameras. In the sitting room. The kitchen. The hallway outside the children's room. The first morning was uncomfortable to watch. But not yet damning. Emily mostly stayed on her phone. The children played by themselves. They ate cereal I had left out. She did not join them for breakfast. By afternoon, Theo knocked on the guest room door to ask her something. I could not hear the words. But I watched her open the door, look at him, and close it again. She closed the door. By evening, 6:43 p.m., the children were in the sitting room. Imaid was getting restless. She was hungry. I could see it in how she kept going to the kitchen. Standing there. Looking at the fridge she was too small to open. Theo went to the guest room again. This time I watched Emily come out. She stood in the doorway. And I watched her mouth move. The camera had audio. She said, "I came here to Netflix and chill. Not to watch you. Entitled brats. Go and find something to eat. Entitled brats. My 6-year-old. My 4-year-old. Who had lost their mother to cancer. Who asked for nothing. Except to be fed." Theo went back to the kitchen. He climbed the stool. He found the bread. He tore it into pieces. He passed some to Imaid. They ate bread and water for dinner. While the freezer behind them was full of food. While the woman I was going to marry watched a show in the next room. I closed the laptop. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed for a long time. I am not going to tell you what I felt in that moment. Because I don't have words for it. I only know that it was the kind of feeling that does not go away. The kind that changes a man. I drove home that night. Not the next morning. That night. It was 11:47 p.m. when I put my key in the door. The house smelled like her body spray. And something sour. Unwashed dishes piled in the kitchen sink. The television was on. She was on the couch in a silk bonnet and a loose dress. Laptop open. Feet up on my cushions. A bottle of fruit juice half finished on the center table. She looked up. And her face did something complicated. Surprise. Then the performance of happiness. She said, "Harry. You're back early. Is everything okay?" I said, "Pack your things." She laughed. Actually laughed. Like she thought I was joking. She said, "What?" I said, "Emily. Pack your things. I am not marrying you. I need you to leave my house tonight." Then came the tears. Fast. Practiced, almost. She said I was overreacting. She said she was tired and the children were fine. She said I was being dramatic. She said she loved me. She said we had a wedding in 6 weeks. I took out my phone. I played her the footage. The part where my son passed bread to his sister. The part where she called them entitled brats. I did not look at her face while it played. I looked at the wall. The room was very quiet after that. She left at 12:30 a.m. Took her bags. Did not say goodbye to the children. The next morning, her mother called me. Crying. Apologizing on behalf of her daughter. Asking me to reconsider. I told her. Calmly. No raised voice. I told her everything her daughter said and did. I sent her 3 clips from the CCTV. She went silent for almost a full minute. Then she said, "Harry, I am sorry. I am so sorry. The vendors were called. The hall was cancelled. The invitations we had sent out over 200 had to be recalled." Her family was humiliated. Her friends were confused. The story spread. The way stories in Nigerian circles always spread. Fast. And with extra details added. By people who were not even there. The wedding dress was paid for. Gone. The cake deposit. Gone. The honeymoon hotel booking. Gone. Everything she had shown off on Instagram. The ring photos. The engagement party pictures. Gone. She deactivated her account. 3 days after I sent her home. Here's the twist. That nobody saw coming. Not even Emily. Sally. The same sister Emily dismissed as dramatic. Sally is the reason my children were protected. Sally is the reason I knew to set the test. Sally loved my children. Before she even properly knew them. Because she saw in them what she feared for them. 2 children. No mother. About to be handed to a woman who had already decided they were a problem to be relocated. When I called Sally after it was over, she cried. She said, I felt so guilty betraying my sister. But I couldn't sleep, thinking about those babies. I told her, you didn't betray your sister. You saved my children. And she said, I will never forget this. She said, Teo and Ime didn't choose to lose their mother. The least they deserve is someone who chooses them. She was 22 years old when she said that. 22. It has been 8 months since that night. The children are fine. Better than fine. Teo started primary 2. Ime has decided she wants to be a doctor. Because she wants to. And I quote, fix sick people like mommy was sick. She said that at breakfast one morning. And I had to excuse myself. To go cry in the bathroom for 5 minutes. Mama Chisholm is still with us. She is the most consistent woman in my children's lives right now. And I pay her well. And I thank her every chance I get. I have not started dating again. I am not in a hurry. I learned something expensive about hurrying. Emily, from what I hear, has been struggling. Not because I did anything to punish her. I didn't need to. The footage leaked. I don't know how. I did not send it. But it spread across WhatsApp. And people recognized her face. Her beauty studio lost clients. Some of those clients were mothers. I don't celebrate that. I want to be honest. I don't. Because somewhere in me, I still remember the girl who threw her arms around my neck over a bottle of cold chivita and jollof rice at a university hostel door. I grieve that version of her. The one I thought I knew. But I do not regret sending her away. Not for 1 second. Her sister Sally. She came to see the children last month. She brought Teo a football. And he made a doll with natural hair. Ime climbed into her lap within 5 minutes. Teo showed her his drawings. I watched from the kitchen doorway. Cold juice in my hand. Some people show you who they are by what they protect. And some people show you who they are by who they are willing to walk away from. Emily loved what I could give her. The fees. The studio. The car. The ring. She tolerated me. She had already decided. My children were furniture. She planned to rearrange. And here is what I want every person watching this to hold on to. Whether you are a parent, whether you are a child who once needed someone to choose you, whether you are someone sitting in a relationship right now, asking yourself if the signs are signs. Your children are not a package deal to be negotiated. They are the deal. All of it. Anyone who truly loves you will love what came from you. My mother, Mrs. Lade. She came to the house the week after everything happened. She sat with the children while I sorted myself out. When I came back into the sitting room, she was helping Ime color a drawing. She looked up at me. And she said nothing. Just nodded once. That nod said everything. A mother's "I told you so" never needs to say out loud. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were me. If you saw that footage. If you heard what she called your children. If you knew she had been planning to send them away before the ink on the marriage certificate was even dry. Would you forgive her and take her back? Or would you do exactly what I did? Close that chapter. Protect your peace. And keep moving. Drop a crown in the comments if you would move on. Drop a broken heart if you think forgiveness was still possible. I genuinely want to know. Because some of you watching this right now are in situations where someone is showing you exactly who they are. And you are still waiting for more proof. The bread and water was proof enough for me. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. We drop new African POV betrayal stories every week. Stories that are too real to be fiction and too detailed to be made up. You do not want to miss what is coming next. My name is Harry. These are my children. And we are going to be okay. I see you in the next one.